Before the story starts, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
HOA bully pulled a gun on my wife over a house key. The truth shut him down. The street looked perfect. Clean sidewalks. Fresh green lawns. White houses standing quietly under the evening sun. This was the kind of neighborhood people trusted. The kind where doors felt safe. The kind where nothing bad was supposed to happen. Especially not something violent. And never something involving a gun. The wife had lived here for 3 years. She knew the rhythm of the street. Morning dog walks. Afternoon mail delivery. Quiet evenings with porch lights glowing one by one. Nothing ever surprised her. Until that day. It was just past 6 in the evening. The sun was low, painting the houses gold. Her husband was still at work. She was home alone, preparing dinner. Then came the knock. Not soft. Not friendly. Sharp. Hard. She froze. No one knocked like that here. She wiped her hands and walked to the door slowly. Her heart beat faster with every step. She checked the door camera. Her breath caught. It was the HOA president. He stood very close to the door. Too close. His face was tight. No smile. No warmth. She opened the door just a little. Yes, she asked. He didn't greet her. I need your house key, he said. The words were simple. But they felt wrong. My house key? She asked, confused. Yes, he replied. I need access to your home. The wife felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She knew the HOA rules. She had read them many times. HOA inspections required notice. And they never required a house key. I'm sorry, she said carefully. But I can't give you that. The man stared at her. His eyes didn't blink. You have to, he said. She shook her head. I don't, she replied. It's my home. The air between them changed. The calm street suddenly felt empty. No neighbors outside. No cars passing. The HOA president stepped closer. You live in an HOA, he said. That means you follow my authority. The wife felt fear rise in her chest. But she stayed calm. I follow the rules, she said. And this isn't one of them. That was the moment his face changed. His jaw tightened. His lips pressed together. You think you can say no to me? He asked. She didn't answer right away. Something about his tone felt dangerous. I'm asking you to leave, she said. For a second, he didn't move. Then he did something that made her body tense. He reached inside his jacket. Slowly. Her mind screamed. Her body froze. No, she whispered. The man pulled out something dark and heavy. Metal caught the light. It was a gun. Everything stopped. The sounds. The air. Time itself. The wife could not move. Her legs felt weak. Her hands began to shake. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not over a house key. The HOA president raised the gun slightly. Not pointing yet. Just enough to make a message clear. Give me the key, he said. Now. Her throat went dry. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. But fear locked her in place. This is illegal, she said quietly. He smiled. A small, cold smile. No one will believe you, he said. She looked around. Curtains moved. Someone was watching. But no one came outside. The gun lifted higher. Now it was pointed at her chest. Her heart pounded so loud she thought he could hear it. You're making this difficult, he said. Tears filled her eyes. But she did not cry. "I can't give you my key," she said. "My husband isn't home." "I don't care," he replied. The gun stayed steady. Over a house key. Over power. Over control. The perfect neighborhood felt like a lie now. The man leaned closer. "This community belongs to me," he said. "And so does your house." She shook her head slowly. "You're wrong," she said. His smile disappeared. "You had your chance," he said. Her mind raced. Cameras. Police. Anything. Then she remembered. The camera above the door. It was recording. She didn't move her eyes. She didn't show relief. Instead, she said something calm. "You don't know who my husband is." The man laughed. "I don't care who he is," he said. That was his mistake. Because he didn't know the truth. He didn't know that every second was being saved. His voice. His face. The gun. All of it. The wife slowly raised her hands. Not to surrender. But to stay alive. "Put the gun down," she said. The man hesitated. Just for a second. Fear shifted. He lowered the gun slightly. "This isn't over," he said. Then he turned and walked away. Like he had one. The wife slammed the door shut. Her body collapsed against it. She slid to the floor, shaking. Alive. Minutes later, her phone rang. Her husband. She answered, her voice breaking. "He pulled a gun on me," she said. There was silence. Then her husband spoke. Very calm. He just destroyed himself. Because the truth was already recorded. And the man who thought he owned the neighborhood had just crossed a line he could never come back from. 3 months before the gun incident, the neighborhood had already started to feel different. The wife noticed it first. Every morning, a dark SUV would appear parked across the street. The windows were tinted. The engine was off. But the car was always there. Sometimes it was parked for hours. Sometimes it left, only to return the next day. At first, she told herself it was nothing. People come and go. Maybe it was just a neighbor. But then she started noticing patterns. The SUV always returned at the same time. Always parked in the same spot. Always staring at her house. And inside, the driver, the HOA president, never waved. Never smiled. Just stared. She told her husband. He brushed it off. "Don't worry," he said. "He's just an overbearing HOA guy. He likes control. That's all." She wanted to believe him. She tried. But the feeling in her stomach told her otherwise. Then came the letters. Not emails. Not casual notes. Official letters. No greeting. No kindness. One read. Your property is under review. Compliance will be verified. No explanation. No reason. The wife reread it 3 times. This doesn't make sense, she said. The husband went over the HOA rules again. Everything was in order. No violations. No complaints. Yet the letters kept coming. Cooperate immediately. Failure will have consequences. The words weighed heavy on her. It wasn't just control anymore. It was fear. The wife felt watched everywhere. When she took out the trash, the SUV appeared. When she walked the dog, he slowed his car. Every movement of hers seemed noticed. No one in the neighborhood said anything. Everyone had learned silence was safer. Years before, a family had tried to challenge the HOA president. Fines doubled. Mailboxes were removed. Parking spots vanished. The family moved quietly. No one spoke up again. And now, it was her. The wife felt her own silence tighten like a chain around her chest. She confided in a close neighbor one evening. "He's dangerous," she whispered. "Not just strict. Dangerous." The neighbor nodded. "Be careful," he said. "They've seen him get violent before." Every day, the SUV reminded her that he was always watching. Always waiting. Always planning. One afternoon, he finally approached. He stopped her in the driveway. His tone calm. His eyes cold. "Your house," he said. "I need access." "Access to what?" she asked. "Inspection," he replied. She asked for paperwork. For proof. For rules. He leaned closer. "You ask too many questions," he warned. She shivered, but did not move. That night, she could not sleep. Something in the air felt like a storm before rain. A dark storm. The husband decided to install security cameras around the house. Not out of fear, but preparation. Just in case. The next morning, the HOA president noticed the cameras. His face darkened. He did not smile. He did not wave. Messages began arriving. Short. Cold. Menacing. "You think cameras will save you? You can't hide from me. I know what you do, and I control this street." The wife felt the pressure building. The fear gnawed at her. But she stayed calm. She followed every rule. She documented everything. Because she had a feeling. A gut feeling. The demand for the house key would come. And when it came, it would not be polite. It would not be legal. It would not be safe. She didn't know the exact day. She only felt it. A silent warning in her chest. And somewhere across the street, behind the dark SUV, the HOA president was preparing. Planning. Waiting. Underestimating her. She didn't know it yet. But every threat, every glare, every silent drive past her house was his own undoing. Because fear had limits. And cameras, rules, and truth had power. The wife stood at the window one evening, watching the SUV pull away. The sun dipped low. Shadows stretched across the street. She exhaled slowly. But she was ready. She would not be intimidated. The tension in the air was almost alive. Every leaf on the trees seemed to whisper. Something is coming. And when it came, the HOA president would learn. That bullies always make mistakes. The afternoon sun had begun its slow descent, painting the street in golden light. The wife had just returned from running errands. Her car still warm, tires pressed lightly into the driveway. The quiet neighborhood felt ordinary. Peaceful. But she knew better now. She saw the dark SUV parked across the street, waiting. Like always. Watching. Silent. Her heart skipped a beat. Her hand went to the door handle instinctively. The HOA president stepped from the SUV. No smile. No greeting. Just his eyes, sharp, cold, calculating. "Good afternoon," he said. Polite words. But something behind them made her skin crawl. The wife didn't answer immediately. She studied him. He took a step closer. Confident. Commanding. "I need something from you," he said. Her pulse quickened. She felt the familiar knot of unease in her stomach. "Something?" she asked. He didn't blink. "I need a copy of your house key," he said. The words landed like a punch. Her mind froze. Her eyes widened. Her hand tightened around the car keys. A house key. This was not permitted. This was not legal. And yet, he spoke as if it were his right. I can't do that," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor inside. His smile disappeared. He took another step forward. Closer. Too close. This is an HOA request, he said. Your home is under authority. She shook her head slowly. I follow the rules, she replied. This is not a rule. His jaw tightened. For a moment, he said nothing. Then his voice dropped low, slow, heavy. You think you can defy me? The wife swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed, danger. She could feel the tension rising like a storm in the air. She took a small step back. Please leave, she said. But he didn't. Instead, he leaned in slightly. His voice dropped even further, almost a whisper. You don't understand how this works. You'll cooperate eventually. The wife felt a cold sweat on her back. She could feel the eyes of the neighborhood on her. Not literally. But in her mind, she could imagine the silent judgment. The silent fear that everyone felt in this street. Then I will wait, she said. He laughed softly. A short, forced laugh. Like a man used to control. Like a man who believed he had one. You think silence saves you? He asked. You are under my watch. Her hands shook slightly. She could feel the tremor in her legs. But she straightened. She would not show fear. Not completely. Then he leaned closer. His eyes narrowed. You are making this difficult for yourself. The wife's chest tightened. Her mind raced through every rule, every camera, every legal protection she knew. That's when she realized she needed to stay calm. Not just for herself. Not just for the house. But for what could come next. She took a deep breath. I cannot give you my key, she said firmly. My husband is home soon, and he will decide. That answer hit him like a wall. For a moment, he paused. The air seemed heavier. Time slowed. Then he spoke again. Do you think that matters? Yes, she said. Because this house is ours. He stepped even closer. The street was silent. No cars. No neighbors. Nothing but the hum of the air conditioning. You don't know what I can do, he whispered. Her heart raced. Her body felt tense, ready to bolt. But she stayed still. She remembered the cameras. Every angle, every corner, every inch recorded. The HOA president noticed her glance toward the camera. His eyes flicked to it. Then back to her. A shadow of frustration crossed his face. You think cameras will save you? He said, a hint of rage creeping in. They won't. She met his gaze. I follow the law, she said. And the law does not allow this. He let out a short laugh, sharp, clipped. He was clearly losing patience. The air between them vibrated with tension. Every second felt like an hour. Every small movement magnified. Then, without warning, he made the first physical step that crossed the line. He reached into his jacket. Her eyes widened. Her heart stopped. This time, it was no longer a verbal threat. Her mind screamed. Her body froze. The dark metal gleamed as he pulled it out. A gun. Time slowed. The sun reflected off the barrel. The warm light of the afternoon turned cold. The wife's hands shook uncontrollably. Her breath came in short bursts. Give me the key, he said. Her eyes darted to the camera again. She felt a small surge of hope. She raised her hands slowly. Not in surrender. Not in fear. But to show she was not a threat. Put it down, she said quietly. Her voice steady despite the tremor in her body. The HOA president paused. Just for a second. Enough for the shift to begin. You don't know who my husband is, she said. The words made him hesitate. His hand wavered. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. That single pause changed everything. Because every move, every threat, every word, was being recorded. His arrogance, his power, his weapon, all caught on camera. The wife stayed calm, steady, controlled. She did not scream. She did not cry. "Give me the key," he repeated. "I don't have it," she said firmly. "And even if I did, you would never get it." For a long moment, they just stared at each other. The tension so thick it could be cut with a knife. Then he stepped back. Slightly. Enough to feel the shift. The bully's control was slipping. "This isn't over," he said. And with that, he turned and walked away. Slow. Confident. But the confidence was a mask. The wife closed the door, sliding to the floor. Her body shook. Tears ran down her cheeks. Her heart still raced. Minutes later, her phone rang. Her husband. "He pulled a gun on me," she said. There was silence on the other end. Then he spoke, calm and measured. He just destroyed himself. Because the truth had already been recorded. Because the man who believed he controlled the neighborhood had just made the biggest mistake of his life. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. The sun had dipped low, shadows stretching long across the street. Even the birds seemed still. The air itself felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. The wife stood behind the door, hand on the lock, staring at the camera screen. There he was. The HOA president. No smile. No greeting. Only eyes, cold, sharp, and dangerous. Her stomach churned. Her chest tightened. She could feel every beat of her heart in her throat. He had come again. And this time, something was different. Dangerous. She opened the door only a crack. "Yes?" she asked softly. No greeting. No small talk. He looked past her, inside the house, measuring. "I'm here for the key," he said. The words were simple. But they carried a weight that made the air feel thick. "My key?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yes. Your house key," he said. "I need access." Her mind raced. Her hands gripped the door frame. 1,000 thoughts collided. Rules. Cameras. Police. Every protection she knew flashed in her mind. "I can't do that," she said. Calmly. Carefully. He took a step closer. Closer than he should have. Confident. Arrogant. "This is an HOA requirement," he said. "You belong to this neighborhood. You follow my authority." She shook her head. "This isn't allowed. I follow the rules, but this is not one of them." His face hardened. "You think you can defy me?" he said. His voice low, dangerous, almost a whisper. She could feel the tension in the air, pressing against her chest. Time slowed. Everything became sharper, the leaves rustling outside, the sound of distant traffic, the hum of the house's electricity. He leaned closer. "You are making this difficult," he said. "I will get what I want." The wife's hands shook. Her mind raced. But she did not retreat. Not fully. She would not give him the satisfaction of fear. Then, without warning, he reached into his jacket. Her eyes widened. Her body froze. The color drained from her face. Metal gleamed in the dying sunlight. Cold. Hard. A gun. Time stopped. Her ears rang. Her legs turned to stone. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. The gun was real. Not a threat. Not a bluff. Real. He raised it slowly. Pointed it at her chest, but just barely. Enough to send a clear message. "Give me the key," he said. "Now." Her mind scrambled. Her heart thundered. She thought of her husband. She thought of the cameras. She thought of every rule she knew. She raised her hands slowly. Not in surrender, but in calm defiance. "Put it down," she said softly. Her voice steady despite the terror flooding her veins. He paused. Just for a second. Enough for everything to shift. "You don't know who my husband is," she said. His hand wavered. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. The first real doubt. Because every movement, every word, every second was recorded. The camera above the door captured it all. His arrogance. His power. His threat. All on tape. He stepped closer. "I can end this now," he whispered. "You will regret it." The wife held her ground. Breathing slow. Eyes fixed. Not screaming. Not crying. "Do it," she said quietly. His finger twitched near the trigger. The metal barrel glinted. The afternoon sunlight turned cold and harsh. For a long, unbearable moment, nothing moved. No wind. No birds. No sounds. Only them. Then he spoke, almost a growl. "You will cooperate. You have no choice." Her lips pressed together. She thought of the camera. Of the recording. Of truth waiting quietly, ready to expose him. "I cannot give you the key," she said firmly. "My husband has it. And he will decide." For a moment, his confident mask cracked. He blinked. He realized he had underestimated her. "You think that saves you?" he shouted. His face darkened. The threat in his voice now edged with anger. She shook her head slowly. "I follow the law. You don't. That is the difference." A neighbor's curtain rustled. Somewhere across the street, a light flicked on. But no one intervened. Not yet. The HOA president's hand wavered slightly. The gun dipped. His confidence faltered. "You don't understand," he said. "This isn't over." "Maybe not," she replied. "But I am not afraid." Her voice, calm and steady, seemed to slice through the tension in the air. The bully had lost his invisible control. He stepped back. One slow, deliberate step. Then another. The gun lowered. Not fully, but enough. "This isn't finished," he said, and turned to leave. The wife shut the door firmly behind him. Sliding to the floor, shaking. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Her body trembled from adrenaline. Minutes later, the phone rang. Her husband. "He pulled a gun on me," she whispered. Silence on the other end. Then calm. Measured. "He just destroyed himself," he said. And it was true. Because the camera had recorded every detail. His voice. His face. His threat. Every second of it. The man who thought he controlled the neighborhood had made a fatal mistake. The power shift had begun. And the perfect neighborhood, the quiet street, would never feel the same again. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The wife sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, hands still trembling from the encounter. The front door was locked. Lights glowed softly, warm against the evening shadows. Outside, the street looked calm. Like nothing had happened. But inside, everything had changed. The front door opened slowly. Her husband stepped in. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He walked with quiet purpose, each step deliberate, measured. "You're safe now," he said softly. She nodded, tears still brimming. "He had a gun," she whispered. He closed his eyes briefly. Not in fear. Not in frustration. In focus. "Tell me everything," he said. She recounted every detail. The knocks. The letters. The SUV. His threats. The way he had pulled the gun. Every word. Every pause. Every second. The husband listened without interruption. Calm. Patient. Controlled. When she finished, he asked one simple question. Was the camera on? Yes, she said. All of it. He nodded slightly. A small, knowing smile crossed his face. Good, he said. Then we have leverage. The next morning, he made a call. Not to the HOA. Not to neighbors. To the authorities. He sent them the video. Every second. Unedited. No lies. The officer on the other end went silent. Is this real? The officer finally asked. Yes, the husband said calmly. Handle it by the book. Later that day, the HOA president sent a message. You think you won, it read. The husband didn't reply. He didn't need to. The law would speak for itself. Minutes later, red and blue lights flashed outside. Police cars lined the quiet street. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Some stepped out, murmuring in shock. The HOA president opened his door. Confused. Angry. He had thought he controlled the situation. He had thought fear gave him power. The officers showed him the video. Gun. Threat. Every word. Evidence clear as daylight. No, he whispered. That's not how it happened. But the video spoke louder than his words. Handcuffs clicked. His face turned pale. Years of arrogance stripped away in one moment. The neighbors watched, silent, as the man who had terrorized them was led away. The wife exhaled, relief flooding through her. Her husband held her hand, steady and reassuring. He thought fear was power, he said. But truth is stronger. The HOA board convened soon after. The president was removed immediately. No discussion. No debate. No more control. He lost status. He lost respect. He lost authority. The street breathed again. Children played. Doors stayed open. Neighbors smiled without worry. Later, the wife stood on her porch, watching the sunset. Her hands were steady now. Her body relaxed. The husband joined her, leaning against the railing. It's done, he said. Nothing more to fear. She nodded, but her gaze lingered on the street. She remembered the months of silent terror, the SUV, the letters, the threats. She remembered how powerless she had felt. But now, she understood something crucial. Fear only lasts as long as silence allows it. The husband spoke quietly, almost to himself. Power built on fear is fragile. Truth is permanent. The wife smiled faintly. And for the first time in months, she felt completely safe. The news spread quickly. Online. Through the neighborhood. Everyone learned. No one was above the law. No one could hide behind intimidation. No one could threaten others without consequences. The HOA president had thought he could bend rules, control lives, manipulate fear. But he had miscalculated. Because this family had something he could never understand. Courage. Preparation. Truth. The husband and wife had stood their ground. Documented everything. Protected themselves. And in doing so, they shifted the balance. The bully had fallen. The neighborhood had risen. The wife looked at her front door. The same door. The same lock. But it felt different now. Safer. Stronger. A symbol of boundaries no one could cross. She realized then, softly, quietly, that they hadn't just defended their home. They had defended their dignity. Their right to live without fear. Their right to be safe. And the HOA president? He would never forget it. The man who once said, "I make the rules. Now follow them." The couple sat together on the porch as the sky darkened. Stars began to appear. The street was peaceful. The cameras silent. The past heavy, but controlled. This story did not end with anger or revenge. It ended with calm authority. With justice. With truth standing tall. The wife rested her head on her husband's shoulder. "Silence almost cost us everything," she whispered. He nodded. "But courage and truth saved us," he replied. And that night, the neighborhood finally breathed. Because bullies feel powerful only until the truth stands up. And this time, the truth had stood unshakable. The HOA president woke up to an eerie silence. No phone calls. No messages. No control. For years, his phone had never stopped ringing. Neighbors feared him. They obeyed him. But this morning, nothing. He checked his email. One subject line glared at him. Emergency HOA meeting, immediate attendance required. His hands shook. He knew. The truth was out. At the meeting, the room was packed. Neighbors he had ignored for years filled the chairs. People who had always lowered their heads now stared openly. People who had whispered behind closed doors now waited, expecting accountability. The husband and wife sat at the back. Quiet. Calm. Watching. The board began the meeting. The video played. The gun. The threats. The arrogance. Every second captured. Gasps filled the room. Some neighbors covered their mouths. Others whispered to each other. The weight of years of fear hung heavy, but now it was exposed. The HOA president tried to speak. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. But no one listened. No one dared. The board voted. Unanimous. Immediate removal. No exceptions. No more power. The officers waited outside. The man stepped out, confusion and panic crossing his face. Handcuffs clicked. The metal cold against his wrists. Neighbors watched in stunned silence. The man who had once controlled the street. Who had demanded fear. Who had thought himself untouchable. Was powerless. The wife exhaled, relief rushing through her. Her hands no longer shook. Her body relaxed. Her husband put an arm around her shoulder. "He thought fear was power," he said. "But the truth is stronger." Outside the meeting, whispers spread like wildfire. Neighbors discussed the months of threats. The letters. The SUV. The intimidation. The fear that had gripped them silently. The HOA president's reputation was gone. Socially and legally. He had miscalculated. He had underestimated courage and law. The street breathed again. Children played. Neighbors spoke. Doors remained unlocked longer. Trust returned. The media caught wind of the story. News crews interviewed neighbors. Stories spread online. The tale of the bully HOA president who pulled a gun. And lost everything. Inside his house, the man sat silently. Handcuffed, powerless, exposed. His arrogance crumbled. No one to answer to. No one to control. No one to fear. Meanwhile, the couple's home felt like a fortress. Not because of walls or locks. Not because of cameras. But because of boundaries. Rules. Courage. The neighborhood slowly changed. New leadership. Clear rules. Transparency. Cameras allowed. Fair inspections. No abuse of authority. No intimidation. The sign went up in front of the former bully's house, for sale. The neighbors did not mourn his departure. They did not grieve his absence. They felt relief. Because power taken by fear never lasts. The wife stood on her porch one evening, watching children play. She remembered the dark SUV. The letters. The gun. The tension. But she also remembered the calm that came from truth. From preparation. From standing together. Her husband joined her, leaning on the railing. "Everything changed today," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. "The street is ours again. Not because we fought. But because we were ready. Because we stood by the law. Because we trusted truth." The neighborhood's new leadership held meetings openly. Rules were rewritten. Everyone knew their rights. No one could ever take fear as authority again. The former HOA president faced consequences in court. Legal repercussions. Fines. Potential jail time. His reputation ruined. No red carpet exit. No whispers of admiration. Just truth. The couple's home became a symbol. A place where courage, calm, and preparation had triumphed over intimidation. The wife looked at the door. The same door that had once felt dangerous now represented safety. Boundaries. Control regained. The husband spoke quietly, almost to himself. "Fear gives power only to those who let it. Truth gives power to everyone else." The wife smiled. For the first time in months, she felt completely at peace. The street was alive again. Neighbors greeted each other openly. Laughter returned. Life went on. The cameras silently watched. A reminder that vigilance is not weakness. And for the first time in years, the HOA president's shadow had vanished. The couple sat together on their porch as the sun set. The street, once tense and silent, now breathed freely. Justice had come quietly. Not with revenge. Not with violence. But with law, preparation, and courage. The neighborhood learned a lesson that day. Bullies feel powerful. Only until the truth stands in front of them. And this time, the truth had stood unshakable. The street was quiet, but it was different now. Not empty. Not tense. Not heavy. It was calm. Light. Alive. Children played in the yards again, their laughter echoing off the houses. Neighbors stepped outside without glancing nervously at windows. Doors stayed unlocked longer. People smiled at each other, freely, without fear. The wife stood on her porch that evening, holding a cup of tea. The sun dipped low, painting the street gold. Her hands were steady. Her body relaxed. For the first time in months, she felt safe. Her husband joined her. He leaned against the railing, quiet, observing the calm street. "It's finally over," he said. She nodded, but her eyes lingered on the houses around them. She remembered everything: the dark SUV parked outside, the letters, the threats, the gun. She remembered the fear that had gripped her, day after day, month after month. But she also remembered the courage that had overcome it. She turned to her husband. "We were almost powerless," she said softly. "Silence almost cost us everything." He nodded. "But courage, preparation, and truth saved us," he replied. The couple sat together, watching the sunset, the sky deepening into shades of pink and purple. The neighborhood, once ruled by fear, had changed forever. The HOA president had been removed. He had faced consequences in court. Fines. Legal charges. Potential jail time. His reputation was destroyed. The community had learned a hard lesson. Power taken through intimidation is fragile. Power taken through fear is temporary. Truth, courage, and justice are permanent. The wife thought back to the months of threats. To the SUV that followed her. To the letters demanding compliance. To the moment he had pulled a gun. She shivered, but not from fear. From remembering how close it had come. But now, she understood. She had stood her ground. Documented every threat. Protected herself and her home. And in doing so, she had shifted the balance. Her husband took her hand gently. We didn't just defend our home, he said. We defended our lives. Our dignity. Our right to be safe. The wife nodded. She looked at the front door, the same door that had once represented danger. Now it felt like a shield. A symbol of strength and boundaries. The neighborhood began to heal. New leaders took over the HOA. Rules were rewritten. Fairness and transparency replaced fear. Cameras remained, not as a sign of mistrust, but as a reminder that vigilance ensures safety. Neighbors started talking openly, sharing their stories of intimidation. The fear that had gripped them silently for years began to dissolve. People learned that they could stand together, that courage and truth mattered more than silence. The wife leaned back, letting the calm wash over her. For months, she had lived in tension, watching every shadow, fearing every knock. Now, she could breathe again. Her husband spoke softly, almost to himself. Fear only lasts as long as silence allows it. Truth gives power to everyone else. The wife smiled faintly. She understood now. Bullies thrive only when people let them. Courage, preparation, and truth are the only defenses that truly work. Even as night fell and the streetlights flickered on, the warmth of the evening remained. The couple stayed on the porch, together, watching the quiet neighborhood. They knew the story would spread. Online. Through neighbors. Through anyone who would listen. The lesson was clear: no one is above the law. No one can use fear to control others indefinitely. Justice, preparation, and courage will always have the final word. The couple felt a sense of victory, not loud or boastful, but quiet, firm, and unshakable. The HOA president, once a figure of terror, was gone. His threats, his intimidation, and his arrogance could no longer touch anyone. The neighborhood had reclaimed itself. The children played. Neighbors smiled. Doors opened freely. The air was lighter. The shadows that had once loomed over the street were gone. The wife sipped her tea, savoring the moment. The husband wrapped an arm around her. It's not just the house we saved, he said. It's the peace of mind. The dignity of everyone here. The truth standing tall. She nodded, resting her head on his shoulder. Yes, she whispered. And now, we can finally move forward without fear. The night was calm. The stars appeared one by one. The street was alive again, but in a different way. Safer. Stronger. Free. Because bullies only feel powerful until the truth stands before them. And this time, the truth had stood unshakable. The story would be told for years. Not as a tale of violence, but as a lesson. A lesson about courage. A lesson about boundaries. A lesson about standing tall when fear comes knocking. The wife and husband stayed on the porch a little longer, holding each other. Together. Calm. Protected. They knew the neighborhood was safe. Not because walls or locks could protect it, but because courage, preparation, and truth had restored it. And in the silence of the night, with the stars watching overhead, the street finally breathed. The darkness had passed. The shadows were gone. And the neighborhood was alive again. Forever changed. But stronger. And finally free.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it.